This is a topic that I have covered before, but because it's something that I've been seeing happening in myself and in my life, with people around me, quite a bit recently, I decided I'm going to bring it up again and talk through it again. And, you know, maybe since that last video, whenever it was that I did this topic, I've learned something. So, the point is how easy it is to live with a problem or a crisis-oriented mindset, meaning that we're expecting problems to be around every corner. Anything that does happen that's not exactly going to plan is seen as a major problem and a major setback, and it's a crisis, and it's just like the more you see things this way, the more it feels like any event that's not perfectly according to plan or perfectly according to your expectation then becomes this major crisis, and it becomes really stressful. And I think part of this, at the very least, from what I've seen, is that it's so easy for us to get primed about things. Now, priming is a term in psychology. The standard definition for the word outside of psychology is to prepare something to get something ready for something else. Now in psychology, it's essentially where our brains and our mindsets and our kind of inner self is prepared to respond in a certain way following a specific stimulus. So if, for example, someone has hurt you or betrayed you, you might be defensive towards other people who were not at all involved in the situation where you got hurt. So that, in this particular example, that defensiveness ties in with this crisis-oriented mindset, so that anything that someone says that doesn't come out exactly right, or that you don't interpret and see to be exactly within your frame of how it should have been, your response to that is to be defensive towards the person, to not trust them, and to immediately assume that they're attacking you or out to get you. So it's I think unfortunately a very common thing that happens in the world. I mean, just look at how many conflicts happen because of misunderstandings, because of people not taking the time to get onto the same page, because of people who are defensive from things that happened to them in the past. And so much of our inner worlds and our relationships, our close relationships, and then even our global relationships are influenced by the way that we interpret each other, by the way that we understand each other. And our understanding and our interpretation is influenced a huge amount by how we're feeling and how we're seeing things and our perception of the world. So we essentially prime ourselves for interpreting things in specific ways. So the solution to that pattern is, okay, yes, sure, we don't always know when we're being primed or when we're priming ourselves. We don't always know all the subtle things that influence us in our daily lives. It's not something that we consciously think about. It's not something that we decide to do. It's not like, I'm gonna be defensive today, that's just how I'm feeling. It's just like, it's a little naggy feeling that that happens inside of you, and when you're having a conversation with someone and they say something that doesn't sit quite right with you, your immediate kind of response to that is that you want to defend and protect and strike before they strike. And again, it's not something that's happening consciously. It's like, it's just this feeling like you put up your shield, right? So because it's not something that happens consciously, we have to find ways to support ourselves to be better at identifying when we are allowing ourselves to be influenced by experiences, memories, thought patterns, and whatever other events and circumstances within ourselves and our lives may be contributing to us behaving in a certain way, thinking in a certain way, and speaking in a certain way. So, different ways that you can practice being more aware is to identify what your baseline is. Identify what it looks like in terms of your thoughts and the way that you feel and the way that you speak and behave and your body language. What does it look like when you are stable and you're okay and there's not much going on and you're not reacting, you're not emotional, there's nothing that's really bothering you, there's nothing that's driving you to respond in a certain way. Identify what your baseline is so that you can take moments to reflect back on, where am I at in relation to my baseline? Am I behaving in a way that I know I normally do when I'm stable? Or are there certain feelings happening inside of me that I don't usually feel that are outside of that baseline? Am I feeling a little bit irritated? Am I feeling frustrated? Am I feeling sad? Am I feeling hurt? And the list can go on and on and on of whatever ways we can deviate from our baseline. So the basic principle. Wog, I'm over here. Come on, over here. Sorry. He's blind and he doesn't know where I am. So the basic principle is something different happening within myself? Another thing that we can do, especially if this is a recurring pattern, a recurring tendency for us to overreact in a certain way, for example, which is, okay, what are the common thoughts that I have when I'm in that state, in that emotional state? What are the common feelings? How does it feel? How do I tend to behave? What does my body language tend to be? What do my facial expressions tend to be? How do I tend to speak? The tone of my voice, my volume of my voice, what words I tend to use, and you kind of mark out the common things that come up when you're in that state, and you say, okay, when I think that way and I have these specific thoughts, when I speak these specific words, when I feel this specific feeling within my chest, that's when I know that I'm most likely in that state, and I need to slow right down and make sure that I don't say or do something that I'm going to regret. I need to rather just take a moment to come back to myself before I take any further actions, because I know when I'm in that state and I act, I tend to do things I do regret. So those are two different ideas for how you can practice that self-awareness to be better at regulating and better at just being aware of what's going on inside of yourself and what may be influencing you and how. And usually that awareness is good enough for you to go, oh yeah, this is not something that I actually wanted to do, and this is not how I wanted to live, and this is not how I wanted to behave, this is not how I wanted to build my relationships with anyone. Let me take a moment to just stabilize and reassess, okay, how do I want to move forward? Right, so if you have any questions you'd like to ask or experiences you'd like to share, please do so. You can send me a direct message or leave a comment. Thank you very much for watching. You're going to see me next time.